You know what's weird? Have you ever looked at someone's life online and thought, wow, they've really figured it out? Perfect kitchen, perfect smile, perfect family photos, perfect morning routine. Meanwhile, I'm celebrating because I remembered to water one plant this week. The older I get, the less I trust perfection. Not because perfect people don't exist, because perfect stories usually don't. And that's exactly why this book completely caught me off guard. I picked up Yesteryear expecting one kind of reading experience, and somewhere along the way, it quietly became something else. Not louder, not more dramatic, just deeper.
Coffee ready? Good, because I need to talk.
The kind of book that doesn't chase your attention. It patiently waits for you to notice what it's really doing. And honestly, those are my favorite kinds of books. The first thing I noticed wasn't the story. It was the voice. You know when someone starts talking and within 30 seconds you're thinking, okay, you're interesting. Not because they're trying to impress you, because they sound completely convinced they're telling the truth. That's how this book feels. There's a confidence to the narration that immediately pulled me in. And I kept thinking, do I believe you? Then, should I believe you? Those are very different questions. I love books that make me suspicious of my own reactions. Not suspicious because they're confusing. Suspicious because they're so convincing. Something else surprised me. The pacing. This isn't the kind of novel that sprints. It walks.
Sometimes it even sits down beside you. It lets conversations breathe. It notices tiny details. The way someone says one sentence. The way a room feels. The awkward silence after someone smiles a little too long. Normally, I'd be impatient. I'm one of those readers who usually wants something huge to happen every 50 pages. Here, I didn't. Because I realized the atmosphere was becoming the story. That's difficult to do. Really difficult. You know what's funny? Some books make me read faster. This one made me put the book down, walk into the kitchen, make coffee, and then continue. Not because I was bored, because I wanted to think. That's a completely different feeling. I actually enjoy books that interrupt my own thoughts. It's like the author says one sentence, and suddenly I'm remembering something that happened 3 years ago. How did we get here? Without talking about specific events, can we talk about the people in this book? Because wow, I spent an embarrassing amount of time arguing with them. Not out loud, mostly. There were moments where I wanted to shake someone. Moments where I wanted to defend someone. Moments where I thought, no, you're not nearly as simple as you're pretending to be. And that's something I appreciate. Real people rarely fit inside one sentence. Neither do these characters. Even when I disagreed with them, I understood why I couldn't stop watching them. That's a strange compliment, but maybe it's the highest compliment I can give. They always know the right answer. Always have the perfect explanation. Always seem one step ahead. And then, one tiny crack appears. Nothing dramatic, just a crack. And suddenly, everything they've built starts looking different. Not because it changed, because we did. That's exactly what this book reminded me of. Sometimes nothing changes, except perspective. And somehow, that's enough to change everything. One thing I really admired was how much the book trusted me. It didn't constantly stop to explain itself. It assumed I was paying attention. Honestly, I wish more books did that. Sometimes stories are so worried we'll miss something
They explain every emotion twice. This one doesn't. It lets little moments sit there, quietly, almost daring you to notice them. And when you do, it's incredibly satisfying.
Can I confess something? Halfway through the book, I started noticing influencers differently. Not judging them, just watching. You know those videos where someone says, "Good morning, friends," and somehow they're already baking bread, homeschooling 6 children, organizing 12 spice jars, and smiling like they slept 14 hours? Meanwhile, I'm looking for my phone, using the flashlight on my phone. This book made me laugh at how easily we all accept carefully curated versions of reality. Not because anyone is necessarily lying, but because every camera frame leaves something outside it. That idea stayed with me. And honestly, that's where the novel became much bigger than itself. Because I stopped thinking about social media. I started thinking about people, about performance, about identity. Who are we when nobody's watching? Who are we when everybody is? Those questions don't belong to one character. They belong to all of us. I think that's why I kept reading. Not because I needed answers, because I recognized the questions. Sometimes the most exhausting thing in life isn't pretending to be someone else. It's pretending to be the version of yourself everyone expects. Think about that. How many versions of ourselves exist? Work version, family version, friend version, Instagram version, professional version. The version we become around people we want to impress. And somewhere underneath all those layers, there's probably a quieter version, the one we almost never introduce. This book kept bringing me back to that thought. There's another thing I loved. The writing doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't wave its arms trying to get your attention. It assumes you'll lean in. That kind of confidence is rare. And honestly, it's refreshing. Some novels feel like blockbuster movies. This one felt more like someone sitting across from you, telling you something they probably shouldn't be saying. That intimacy is difficult to create. The more I read, the less interested I become in books that constantly try to surprise me. Plot twists are fun, sure, but eventually you forget them. What I remember years later are feelings, atmosphere, conversations, one uncomfortable question, one unforgettable sentence, one character I still argue with in my head while washing dishes. That's apparently my official book review metric now. If I'm thinking about you while loading the dishwasher, congratulations, you won. And here's what surprised me the most. I expected to finish this book and immediately start another one. Instead, I closed it and didn't pick up anything for the rest of the evening. Not because I was emotionally destroyed, because I wanted some silence. I think good books earn silence, not applause. Silence. That's how you know they followed you home. You know, there's a sentence I've heard a lot over the years. Just be yourself. And every time someone says it, I want to ask, which one? Because, let's be honest, we're different people in different places. You're not exactly the same person at a job interview as you are eating cold pizza at midnight. You're not the same person talking to your parents as you are with your oldest friend. That's normal. We all perform a little. The question is, when does performing quietly become living? That's the question this book left sitting on my coffee table long after I finished reading. Not literally. Although books do have a habit of staying on my coffee table for weeks because apparently putting them back on the shelf requires Olympic-level motivation. One thing I kept thinking about is how much energy perfection must cost. Seriously. Imagine waking up every morning knowing millions of people expect you to be Calm, kind, patient, beautiful, wise, funny, organized, productive, every single day. I get tired replying to 3 emails. Imagine carrying an entire image. No wonder people crack. No wonder we all eventually get exhausted trying to become our own highlight reel. And here's something I didn't expect. This book never made me feel superior. You know how some stories quietly tell you, these people are foolish, this person is wrong, this character deserves judgment. I never really felt that here. Instead, I caught myself thinking, if I lived that life, would I really be different? That's uncomfortable, because it's easier to judge people from outside their world. It's much harder to admit I probably would have made some of the same choices. Kind of way. More like, do I really need to check my phone before my eyes are fully open? I caught myself reaching for notifications and then laughing, because somewhere in the back of my mind, I was thinking, maybe I don't actually need the internet's opinion before breakfast. That's probably healthy. Another thing I admired, the book understands something many stories forget. People rarely think they're the villain. Almost everyone wakes up believing they're doing their best. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're hurting people. Maybe they're blind to themselves. But inside their own head, their choices usually make sense. That fascinated me, because real life works exactly like that. We almost never meet ourselves the way other people meet us. That's such a strange sentence. And yet, I think it's true. The writing also has this quiet confidence. It never feels desperate to entertain you every page. It isn't shouting, "Look at this!" Instead, it trusts that small observations matter. A glance, a pause, something left unsaid. Honestly, those moments affected me more than any dramatic scene could have. Sometimes silence says everything. There's one feeling I kept returning to: control. Not controlling other people, controlling life. Have you noticed how much we all try? Calendars, to-do lists, meal plans, morning routines, 5-year goals, color-coded notebooks. Meanwhile, life is somewhere in the corner laughing. Because no matter how organized we become, life always keeps one surprise hidden in its pocket. This book reminded me of that. Not in a cruel way, almost in a compassionate way. As if it was saying, it's okay. You were never supposed to control everything. I think I needed that reminder. And maybe that's why I enjoyed the reading experience so much. It never felt manipulative. It never begged me to feel something. It simply presented people with all their contradictions, then quietly stepped back. That takes confidence as a writer. It also takes confidence as a reader, because now the responsibility shifts to us. What do we think? How do we feel? What assumptions did we bring into the story? I love that. Here's another random confession. This book made me suspicious of beautifully organized kitchens. Not because organized kitchens are bad. I love a clean kitchen. Mine just doesn't know that yet. But now every time I see one of those impossibly aesthetic cooking videos, part of me smiles. Not because I think it's fake, because I remember there's always a camera outside the frame. There's always another room, another conversation, another version of the day we never see. And honestly, that's okay. Nobody owes us their entire life. If I had to describe the emotional experience of reading this book, I'd say it felt like slowly cleaning a foggy window. At first, everything seems obvious. Then the more you wipe, the less certain you become, until eventually you're not looking at the characters anymore. You're looking at yourself. Those are dangerous books. The good kind of dangerous. So, who do I think this book is for? Not everyone. And I actually mean that as a compliment. If you're looking for a fast thriller where every chapter ends with an explosion, this probably isn't your book. If you love stories that let you sit with complicated people, if you enjoy books that trust your intelligence, if you like conversations that continue in your head after you've put the book down, I think you'll really appreciate this one. It's especially for readers who enjoy asking, why did that affect me so much? Instead of, what happens next? Because this book is less interested in racing toward the finish line and much more interested in changing the way you look at the road. And that's probably my favorite compliment I can give any novel. Not that ending was amazing. Not I couldn't put it down. Instead, I'm still carrying it. Some books entertain us. Some books distract us. And every once in a while, a book quietly moves into your thoughts without asking permission. This was one of those books for me. Anyway, coffee's finished. The book's closed. Now it's your turn. One question. What stayed with you? No spoilers. Let's protect the experience for future readers. I'll see you at the next coffee.